we're going through in the EC2 on the 25-year value transfer system, and really looking at this 25-year value transfer system and saying, first question that I think people should ask me is, so did it work, Mark? I mean, your oldest is now 30. Your youngest of the 7 kids is now 18, 3 boys, 4 girls. And I would have to say yes and no. I mean, it did work, but it didn't work as well as I thought it would. Other questions or thoughts from anyone?
Well, the thought I have is I look over our children and I see them having the idea of the value system in the back of their head, especially when they're at work and they're performing, I think, maybe higher than some of the others because they have it in their head. Not that they apply it all the time, and their wisdom isn't always the greatest, but I think that they learn something over the years that helps them in their workplace and with relationships. So,
well, that's a good point. That's really powerful. Ralph Miller, he is one of my mentors out on the East Coast, sold his business when he was in his early 50s, never had to work a day in his life. And he said, he's a Christian, then he went on to teach at a, Christian university and stuff. Super smart guy, unbelievable. And he said, Mark, a lot of Christians, a lot of Christians, they're looking for miracles like, healing the, eyesight or, healing physically or stuff like that. He said, but how I think of a miracle, Mark, is every entrepreneur, every business owner is, a miracle worker in that you have a 16-year-old boy that's pretty much worthless at home, doesn't do his chores, doesn't keep up, like he's not productive, and he goes to work at McDonald's, and he becomes a productive member of society. So our youngest son, who's 18 now, one of the biggest challenges I had with him and a number of our children was laziness. I did not think that they were hard workers, and I told the youngest one multiple times that, hey, you are really lazy, and that's not going to serve you well in life. When he was 16, 2 years ago, 15 or 16, I said, 1 to 10, how'd you rate me as a dad? And he said, I think it was like a 6 or something, 6 or 7. I said, okay, what would it take to get to a 10? And he said, stop calling me lazy. And I'm like, whoa. So good news, in this season of life, well, I'm not saying this is good news, obviously, I'd never say that. Right now, he's not talking to me, hasn't talked to me in about, I don't know, 6 months, whatever it's been. I'm not saying that's good news, I'm not saying it's bad news. He seems to enjoy it, and I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, because I don't want to deal with the drama, you know what. But good news is he came to a graduation. Our youngest daughter, she graduated, really proud of her. She got a 4.0 average. My wife and I just looked, she got a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree in criminology or something like that. Anyways, she got a 4.0, which we just looked at each other and said, where did she get that? And so, but we're really proud of her. We're proud of all the kids, whether they go to college, whether they don't. Going to college, I have 3 degrees. My wife has 1. That doesn't make us any better than somebody else, who has no degrees. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of times getting a degree might hurt people rather than help them, honestly. Anyways, so at the party, I was talking to a business owner that my youngest daughter nannies for, so she paid for her own way through college. Lived on her own since she was 18. She just recently got married, and so she nannies for a family. The owner, or the husband, he owns his own commercial, business, construction business. And my oldest son worked for him, and before, when he was in the Chicago area, and then moved out to Tennessee, and then moved out to Tucson. And he said, "Man, I wish, I wish Jonathan was here. Man, that's the kind of perfect guy that I want working for me. Like, wow, he was good." And I've got a 20-year-old son, Ben, and then Tim, who's 18. And I said, "Hey, how's Tim doing?" He's like, "He's doing good. Working hard, yeah. He's disciplined." So I think what Rosanna says, I think that's true. And so, other thoughts, Rosanna?
I think that it's just important to remember that even though we don't think something's working, it could be working further down the line, and not to avoid doing something just because we don't think it's working.
Good. What might be a little bit of a downside of that type of thinking? I see the upside. I agree with it totally. Like, don't give up on something because you don't think it's working, because it's often like farming versus fishing, developing people, developing children. And so, if you don't catch a fish in the first 5 minutes, doesn't mean you shouldn't stop fishing. Farming is even harder because you don't get it after a day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. It takes a long time to get the harvest. Kids are even longer than farming. What's the downside of thinking, like my parents, I have 5 siblings, and my dad said, the challenge with having kids is by the time you realize that you raised them wrong, they're all grown up. Now, my 5 siblings all own their own companies, very productive individuals in society, very successful. But I understand what he was saying. So often we get overconfident and think it's working, or it did work, but my kids went through more pain than they needed to. The system's not as strong as what it should be, could be, which is why it's been transferred over to EC2 for all you guys to fix it. Take a look at it, peel, like, what's wrong with, so all of our kids, except the oldest one, she moved back a little bit after college, and so, or during college, and so, but all the other kids moved out between the ages of 17 and 18, and all working independently on their own. People are like, "Man, how do you guys do that?" And there is a secret that my wife and I have to doing it. Other thoughts, questions, insights?
Well, your thought was, what's the drawback of doing that?
Yeah, it's Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's feeling like you're wasting time, and so you don't do it.
Yeah, but I think it would be fair to say that I may have invested a fair more into this system than you did, at least consciously. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So I invested, let's say 10 times as much into it, and so I have a higher expectation. Like, now I'm like on, second generation, 25-year value. This is version 2.0. So one of the mistakes that we made is I did not instill in my children the intention I had in marrying a spouse. And I love my 3 sons-in-laws, and I love my daughter-in-law like crazy. And I want their relationships to last for a lifetime. But they were not as intentional in selecting a spouse as I was. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I just think it's brought a lot of hurt to them. And so there's things that when I look back, 25 years, and I'm like, what would have I done differently? So I think certain personalities, the amiable often, maybe the expressive, maybe the analytic, doesn't build the systems, or if the system's built, they're like, it worked pretty good. And I'm like, it didn't work good, it worked terrible. Ed, thoughts you have?
So your program sounds around kids and such. What do people, I mean, does it work for people without kids?
You mean work for adults?
I guess yes, or single folks without children. I mean, the value class, if you will, right? Is it open to all?
Oh, it's open to everyone. Yeah, this is the challenge. Like Life Masteries Institute, they have this amazing program for EVAs, executive virtual assistants, and help them starting their own company, and they're amazing. I mean, I'm contracting, I think, with 11 of them now. Used to have 22 employees. They produce more than 50 employees do. They're absolutely amazing. Life Masteries has been bugging me for, 10 years probably, 5-10 years, to take the EVA program and take it into employees. The challenge with adults is they think they work hard, they think they care, they think they have integrity, they think that they're direct, they think they're honest, they think. If you ask most adults will say that they have these values. And so, in my opinion, based on when we look at quantum thinking or dimensional thinking, they don't. They don't really think about this. They don't really go through this. And so that's where EC2 comes in, Ed. Like just in the last few years, I don't mind teaching my 3 2.5-year-old granddaughters good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences. I kind of like it. It's so cute. It's so funny because Lily, who's almost 3, Grandma asked her just yesterday, honey, good choices, good. And she's like, I don't know. But she does. She for sure does. Or don't put the popsicle sticks in the DVD player. Like, don't do that. Like, I don't mind teaching a 2- and 3-year-old. My 5- and 7-year-old grandsons, they have a lot of drama, and it's like, and they, boy, if they don't get what they want just when they want it, man, you know about it. It's like, really? I mean, I expect a 2- or 3-year-old to do that, but I don't expect a 5- or 7-year-old to do that. It's like, you know what, you guys, if you don't get a drink right when you want it, you know what, it's not the end of the world. You're 5, you're 7 years old. You're not 2.5, 3, you're not babies. And so I think the challenge, and that's why I'm so excited about EC2, is I'm tired, Ed, of working with adults that are clueless, that think they have a hard work ethic but don't. They're far lazier than my 18-year-old son. Like, he's lazy, I think. But, hey, he's on his own. He's, got it figured out how to provide for himself. I'm not providing for him. He's looking, how does he create an economic engine so he can get married, have kids. And so I have a, surprise, pretty high standard for my kids, and I really admire and respect him a lot for doing what he's doing. And so EC2, I'm not going to go ahead and devote my life to a bunch of adults who think one thing about themselves but are clueless about others. So yes, it does work for adults through EC2. It will help an adult or a teenager or a 5 or 7-year-old to recognize, to gain clarity in life. The faster we can gain clarity, Ed, in life, I think the more success that we have. And I want that for my kids. I want that for my grandchildren. I want that for my future great-grandchildren. I want that for, your son. I want that for your daughter. I want that for their children. I want that for every grandchild on the planet. I want that for the 7.4 plus billion people, which is what EC2 and Life Masteries is really all about. And when somebody invests $20 into it, Ed, they've got skin in the game. So they're investing a little bit of something into themselves. And so when somebody invests a little bit of something, they're more likely, just like if you give a child a car versus making them work for a car. I worked for my own education, my own college education, and I got a lot more out of it. Our children that have got college educations, they've worked hard for it, they've earned money, they've saved money, they've invested it. Other of our children have chosen not to get a college education. I'm fine with that too. And so, does that make sense, Ed?
Yes.
Questions?
Not now.
See, in the recruiting that you're looking at doing, this would be a great tool. Say, actually I don't hire people unless they're on EC2. What? What do you mean? Yeah. Because you don't want to train them in the things that hard work. They think they work hard. They don't work hard. So if somebody's not willing to invest $20 a month back into themselves, well, that reveals a lot about them. And do you want to invest any of your time and life into them? Maybe not. Maybe that's not a caring thing to do. Maybe it's just creating entitlement. Same thing with your coffee connection people. Like you're investing tens of thousands of dollars into people and they won't appreciate it. But if they're part of EC2 and they're paying a measly $20, they will value what you're teaching them. They will grow and learn. They'll listen more to what you have to say. You will make a boatload more money, and they will as well. Emily, questions or thoughts you have?
No, I don't.
Katrina, any questions or thoughts you have?
No, I'm good.
So with Lily, how can we, so this is Katrina, my middle child of the 7, and so she's a single mom. She has a almost 3-year-old daughter. And so we get a second take on her. We're like, okay, so how can we teach her and help her to learn even faster than her mom did? So with a lot of human beings, Katrina's like a lot of human beings where, we don't learn as fast as what, we need to go out and experience life, and nothing inherently wrong with that. The challenge is that often it doesn't work out as well for us, or we hurt other people even unknowingly. Any other thoughts, questions, insights anyone has?
No, I think it's been really helpful. It also is cool to see it on the other end. I know when we were in the midst of it, it seemed like some sort of a struggle at times to continue to get the kids to work on them. I ran across them the other day as that they had filled out, and it was interesting to look at them and see the growth that they've done in the few years that they've had it.
I think that's one of the mistakes we made, is I think that we did not push them as hard. We didn't even know the internalization model. Like if we'd have known that, this would have been 1,000 times better. So you take the internalization model and teach that to our 5 grandkids on how do you internalize things. And then take that and put that into here. So it took 25 years to figure out that internalization model. Tom Coons, past president, largest real estate franchise in the world. He's the one that helped us to see what we were missing. And that's where each one of you, when you get involved in EC2, and then you start getting family members involved. So I'm getting my kids in. I haven't gotten any of my sons-in-laws or daughter-in-law, but they're going to get into it. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So I'm working, how do I get them in? So you see, each one of us, like you can see something I don't see. It doesn't matter what your age is. You could be 7 years old, and you can see something that I haven't seen. And that can bring me value, it can bring my kids value, it can bring my grandkids value, it can bring you value, it can bring your kids value, it can bring your grandkids value, your parents value, or your sibling values. It's amazing. It's just crazy. So again, if you have any questions, connect with the individual. Don't forget to manage up and out on this to your art mentor and your 2 art buddies. So make sure, as a minimum, care about, two people, your art buddies. Care about two people in EC2 and say, hey, this is what I got from it. What did I learn? And then second is most important, what action am I going to take? Like, what action are you going to take from this today? If you don't take action, it's just M&M. And, it's just, so connect with them. Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.